uBreakiFix has a new program that will send a technician to your house to fix your broken electronics. How does it work? The president and co-founder of uBreakiFix is going to tell us on this episode of Dynamic Developer. I'm your host, Bill Detwiler, and today I'm joined by Justin Wetherill, president and co-founder of uBreakiFix, to talk about a new program called We Come to You, an on-site repair service the company launched in October 2020. Justin, thanks for joining me.
No, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Before we get to the new kind of announcement that uBreakiFix made about mobile repairs, give me a little bit of a rundown on what the business is and how you got started.
Sure. Yeah, the journey's super fun. uBreakiFix is in the business of fixing electronics, phones, tablets, computers, you name it. We want to be the local tech destination for when people inevitably struggle with their technology. We started just over 10 years ago when I broke my own phone. And kind of being a nerd and techie myself, I tried to fix it and I broke it worse. And rather than kind of getting discouraged and being like, this stinks, I was like, man, if I'm in this boat and I can't turn these little screws, there's probably a lot of others in this same boat. So really that was the kind of light bulb moment for me and the beginning of uBreakiFix. We've been, kind of just trying to really set the standard for repairs in the industry for the past 10 years. It started out 10 years ago with, hey, we fix it, we don't fix it, it's free. You get a 90-day warranty on your whole phone, not just what we touched, like basic common sense things that would drive kind of a memorable repair experience. And then, over the past 10 years has just ballooned into, 600 stores and, a bunch of vans, which I'm sure we'll get into. So it's been an incredible journey.
What was it about the existing repair experience back then that just wasn't working for you? Like beyond you just, I'm in the same boat you are. I've been taking things apart my whole life. I host Tech Republic's and CNET's Cracking Open show where we take things apart. So I've been there with you and I feel it from just a personal standpoint. But as someone who was just beyond that, as someone just had a device that you needed to get working again, what was it maybe about the existing kind of infrastructure of repair facilities or sending it back to manufacturer that really didn't work in your eyes and maybe, still doesn't work for a large majority of people?
Yeah, so I think, as kind of luck and destiny would have it, I broke my phone at the perfect time when technology had rapidly evolved. It was an iPhone 3G, those kind of glass-based feature, technology, like those phones were just getting popular. Like nobody was fixing them. The OEM wasn't fixing them. They were still heavily subsidized like old phones. So exactly what happened to me was I had an iPhone 3G. I paid $199 for it and had it on AT&T like everybody else when it first came out. And when I smashed it and went to the Apple store, it was $199. And I was like, how is this possible? I paid $199 for this phone. And, did some Googling and things and realized, parts were much more reasonable than the actual repair, and just decided to give it a whirl because of the discrepancy between what was at Apple, the replacement cost, and at the time for me, what I thought was the repair cost. Little did I know I was ordering the wrong parts and was in for quite the surprise. But that's what really drove me to create a repair solution rather than just going out there and working with something that was already in the market.
Let's talk about that market and how it's changed and how it's leading to this new offering that you have. So you've got a series. At first, I think you were only online, and then you launched brick and mortar locations all over the U.S. and in Canada. And now you're going a step further and actually bringing that repair experience to the consumer. Talk about that.
Yeah, so the journey, like I mentioned, has been really wild. So it started all on eBay. And then after we launched on eBay and kind of got proficient at repairs and we're driving some volume, we built our own website and started driving volume kind of nationally at that website. And like you alluded to, we then started a store here in Orlando that was like, 500 square feet. Rent was $800 a month. It was in the middle of nowhere and nowhere, like anchored by a dentist office. Month two, that store's open. It eclipses sales for a website that serves the whole country. And at that same time, your phone's becoming your new web browser, your camera, your TomTom. It's taking all these things that were usually kind of discrete electronic devices that were integral to kind of your daily life and making it to where like you couldn't mail out your phone and wait a week anymore. Like you needed it right then. So the store sales eclipsed the website that served the whole country. And that was like, hey, well, stores are the future. Like it was one of my partners at the time, Manager here, was like, hey, we got to run with this. Nobody wants to mail out their phone and wait. And we ran, the store game solely for pretty much a decade and matured with the industry. So started out kind of just buying parts on eBay and figuring it out, then developed our own supply chain, and then became kind of the first third-party authorized chains for some major OEMs, and really brought, I think, a new level of credibility to repair and into the industry, which we're really proud of. And then late last year, it's just total coincidence with COVID and how kind of life has changed in the last 6 months. But late last year, we become a part of the Assurion family, stand up a 300 van remote repair network to start doing some claims strictly for their volume and for their clients, with an aspiration to grow that rapidly here in 2020, put hundreds of vans on order, just kind of in queue waiting, yada, yada, yada. Fast forward to March, like, the world shuts down, nobody wants to go outside. And we've got, these 300 and change vans just, servicing this Assurion volume. But now we're like, hey, like, we don't know what's in store, what this means for the stores. We really need to fast track access to this for our customers. So we stood up some pilots to put our franchisees in positions to compete in this new environment. And it was kind of clunky. You had to submit a lead and the store had to manually reply. You had to like talk to a bunch of people. So, not like technology has enabled some of these experiences lately, but kind of stood something up cookie cutter. Fast forward that to 6 months. Now we're in a position where we've got almost 700 vans on the road. We cover in excess of 85% of the country. And a consumer can go on our website, go through a couple drop downs, select their device, select the repair type, and then they can decide, I want to mail in my phone, I want to walk into a store, or I want to have a van come meet me in my driveway at the Starbucks, wherever you want, and complete whatever repairs are needed. So, to sum it up, like uBreakiFix, like I mentioned, has always been about just being a solutions provider to, people who are in distress with their technology. And this is just really for us the next evolution of that. And we couldn't be more excited about it.
Now, what's the breakdown when it comes to sort of cost versus when thinking about mailing the phone in versus bringing it into a store versus having the van come to you? I'm assuming the repair itself is probably the same across all of those, but are there different costs for the method in which it's delivered? So do you pay more to say have someone come to you? Is there a little bit of an upcharge to cover the price, which I assume there's overhead built in, whether it's the a trip charge, there's fuel, there's the trucks, there's the extra sort of cost there, or how does that work?
Yeah, so in those three service models, what we did, when COVID first set in, is actually we subsidize shipping, so that if you mail in a repair or you walk into our store, it's the same cost to you as a consumer. We're actually covering shipping to drive volume to our stores in a very fragile time, and also to just make sure that we're delivering on the expectations of our customers through that challenging time. And then for the remote tech, there is a nominal truck roll fee. It's $30 to have somebody come to you rather than having to go to a store or mail it in. and we're learning. This is new to us. Like, is that a palatable number to consumers? Is that what it's going to be for the next 10 years? I don't know. We're really, you know, just launching this product. We're excited to hear what consumers think about it. We're excited to continue to get feedback. And we're really excited to just continue to build, like we have the service in the stores, continue to build on the service in the vans, and drive an incredible amount of value for our customers.
Tell me a little bit about, I guess, how you've seen the marketplace change with respect to the devices themselves. Like you talked about, they have really become these essential parts of our lives, and not just from, a day-to-day perspective, but also because they hold so much of their information. Like hopefully people are backing stuff up to the cloud, or they're backing stuff up to another location, but you've got multiple thousands of photos on there, people's music libraries. Again, hopefully they're storing stuff to the cloud, but you just never know. So I imagine, if people, are in distress, it's not just, hey, I can't get my emails, or I can't do work, or I can't do things like this, but it's also like, I've lost these heirlooms. I've lost this information. How has that kind of affected the way you kind of approach repairs? The fact that they have become so integral, they're repositories for all this data, and they've just gotten more expensive to actually fix. It used to be all the phones, like you said, were $199 because they were subsidized, but maybe still it's $499 on the outset. Now, $1,500, $2,000. When you look at some of the foldable, the new Galaxy Fold 2s, when you look at the Moto Flips, when you look at, even the new iPhone 12s that are coming out, you're easily into the $1,500 range for a top-end model. How's that affecting the device repair market as a whole?
Yeah, so with prices or devices getting more technologically advanced, we've definitely seen repair prices increase with that. So, 10 years ago when we started, the glass would be a digitizer and the LCD would be separate, and you'd be able to replace one or the other. Now they're commonly fused together. It's not unusual to have cameras built into a display or a fingerprint sensor built into a display. So, in some ways, the repairs have gotten easier because it's more plug and play, but then you bring in IP68 ratings and, recalibrating some of the technology that's built into these really, really small phones so like some repairs are easier, but overall process is harder in terms of the diagnostic tools required and the waterproofing that's required. It's really been interesting to watch it develop, but you hit it on the head. What a lot of folks, I'm a guy that changes my phone 6 times a year. Every time Google comes out with a new phone, I switch. Every time Samsung comes out with a new phone, I switch. This year more than ever. If I usually switch 4 times a year, it's 7 times this year because it seems like everybody's coming out with more devices than ever additionally. But, fortunately the cloud has gotten really good and made my life a lot easier in those transitions. But a lot of people are stuck having all that on their device. And that's what we see a big driver for repair is, people don't like change, right? We see all the time where, our most popular repairs, believe it or not, lag 2 years. Because it's people that have had their devices for a while. They don't want to change. They don't want to move their pictures. They don't want to move their apps. They don't want to go through the process of transitioning to a new device. It's still relatively, up to date. They want to get a new battery. They want to get their screen fixed. It's easier to do that on a 2-year-old device where the repair price kind of makes more sense than it is to go buy a new $1,000 device. So, like I said, our most popular repairs lag 2 years, and I think it's for that reason. That's where the parts drop to a point where the price makes sense, and folks, the trade-off between kind of replacement and repair just tends to make most sense in the consumer's eyes.
Right. Where do you think that the market's going to go in the future? Do you think that we can keep seeing the price increases when it comes to phones and tablets? Or do you kind of think that $1,500 price point is really the top? It seems like a lot of the, for lack of a better word, the PC and device manufacturers that really like to be in that sweet spot between the $1,000 and $2,000 mark have now just replaced that with the phone, right? So we're just, instead of selling you a laptop at $1,200. We'll just sell you a phone at $1,200 or a tablet at $1,200. We don't really, they don't really care. But there does seem to be a point where maybe too much is, enough is enough. And there's just not a mass market for a super high end, a plus $1,500 device, right? So what do you think about that?
Where it's going to go, I mean, I think the irony is a lot of the device manufacturers kind of rode the computer train before this and watched industry margins erode and are holding tightly to the margins they have in these devices. And I don't think it's a coincidence that as they become technologically more advanced, the prices rapidly rise to protect, manufacturer margins with that. And so, look, I think everybody's in a different boat. And you even see OEMs chasing kind of different segments with, Google chasing $600 phones and, like you said, Apple pushing the $1,500 mark on some of these iPhone 12s. I can speak for myself where there's not a device I'm on more than my phone, right? Like, so at the end of the day, if I'll spend $2,000 on a laptop, I will personally wouldn't think twice about spending $2,000 on a phone that I'm on 10 times as much. I'm not the demographic that I'm not everybody. That I'm sure everybody doesn't share that opinion, but I think there's a strong demand out there for kind of that bleeding edge technology in a phone because people realize just how critical it is to their daily life. And I think that if we want these manufacturers to continue to innovate at the rate they have over the last 10 years, we should expect prices to probably go with that. And I think that it's not, not everybody's going out buying the new $1,500 phone, but obviously a lot are. They wouldn't be making it.
Right. Yeah. So you started, speaking of phones, and you started with phones, but you expanded into other devices. So is it you fix tablets, laptops? What about other categories like wearables? Is that something that you do now, or as those markets grow, we'll look at taking on and doing more repairs, maybe to as we get to the IoT and the Internet of sort of everything? Are you looking at new markets like smart speakers or other quote unquote smart devices?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have our saying at uBreakiFix is we'll fix anything with a power button. And what that means is just like I kind of alluded to at the beginning is bring it in, we'll look at it. If we can't fix it, it's free. If we can fix it, we'll tell you what it costs. And if you want to do it, great. If you don't, no problem. And I think what's really interesting about IoT and kind of where we're going with the brand and the tie-up with Asurion last year is now actually our stores offer a product called Home Plus, which is a monthly reoccurring product. And it covers everything that connects to the internet in your house, your laptop, your computer, your phone, or excuse me, not your phone, your laptop, your computer, your game console, essentially everything that connects to Wi-Fi that doesn't connect to a network. And that you've got your local uBreakiFix store, you've got this plan that covers everything from your TV to your game console, and you're covered and you know where to go get it fixed. So, I mean, we definitely see, we started out like you alluded to with phones, but, technology isn't going anywhere. And the challenges that technology brings along with the benefits aren't going anywhere either. I mean, for the first 10 years of this business, everybody said, what happens to you when phones don't break anymore? Like if I had $1 for every time somebody asked me that, like I wouldn't have to be in business anymore. And the reality is we're super confident that, like I mentioned, as technology becomes more and more kind of pervasive in our lives, that there will always be a need for a local expert to help assist folks through whatever their challenges are. And I mean, that's been our kind of mission and our motto for the last, call it 6 or 7 years. And that's part of why we expanded from phones to laptops to tablets, et cetera, because, technology is awesome. It enables us to do a lot of things, but it also brings unique challenges to different types of people. And that's where our challenge is how do we get 600 stores? How do we get 700 vans? How do we get thousands and thousands and thousands of technicians trained to be that local expert for everybody? And that's really where we see our strength, and that's our responsibility, is to make sure that we're bringing a consistent service level and a consistent service offering across all those platforms to make sure we're delivering for our customers.
So I'd love to hear more about how exactly you do that. So if you've got someone that, because originally all the stores were, corporate stores, and you started to franchise, and with that you've got the mobile service, the We Come to You service. If you've got, I'm sure people watching this might be thinking to themselves like, oh, I don't know if they're in a small area, a small market, they might be thinking, well, this is something that I could do, or, they might be interested in kind of that. How do you, ensure that when you have a large franchise operation like this, that you can, maintain that consistency in training and in hiring, and, it's a pretty good, it's a decent supply chain that you kind of have to manage. So what's that been like? Because you've done it in, like you said, you started in 2009 and really started to expand in 2013. So you've done this in a really short period of time, to go from a small organization to a big organization like that. How do you do that?
Ironically, the technology, right? Like we've got 8 or 9 KPIs that we track kind of really intently, and we coach on constantly across the organization, whether it's at the corporate level or the store level. And we just have always remained really focused on that. And we have technology we developed in-house called Portal that handles our point of sale, it handles our knowledge base, it handles our training, and it really puts everything in one spot for all of our technicians and all of our owners to enable kind of that standardized operating procedure across all of the different stores. And, really what it comes down to, like any business, no surprise to you, is people. Like, we've been incredibly blessed to have the best employees, the best franchisees. Everybody acts like they own it. That's the secret sauce, that you mix the technology with the people. And, that's what has really made uBreakiFix special over the past decade.
So in your estimation, I'd love to hear what makes a great uBreakiFix franchisee and owner, and what makes a great technician. I mean, is it passion for technology? Is it technical skill? Is it a customer service first attitude? Is it all of that together? What is it that you kind of look for and encourage in franchisees, and encourage them to look for in technicians?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. We look to align ourselves with folks that have a similar vision to us, which is, if we continue to put our customers first, the rest will figure itself out. Like, to be a franchisee or a technician, 0 technology experience required. Like, we will train you. Like, we've done it thousands of times. We've never had a franchisee come through training, get to the end and be like, I can't do this. The screws are too small, or, I don't know whether to turn them left or right. It's never happened in, our 7 or 8 years of franchising now. It just comes down to, alignment of kind of mission and values, which is just continue to put the customers first. They're the ones that keep the lights on, and, the rest we can teach and coach and train and et cetera.
One thing I think that I'd love to ask you about too is that, it seems like some of the OEMs, some of the manufacturers are really focused on sort of keeping everything in-house, Apple. And then there are the OEMs, maybe like Samsung or Google or some of the other manufacturers, especially in some of the bigger electronics categories, that are much more interested in partnering with local either repair facilities, local sales facilities. They're kind of used to that channel experience. What do you think is the sort of the future kind of for that model? Do you think we'll kind of stay along that course? I mean, you talked about it a little bit earlier, and the reason I ask is you talked about as the price increases, people are holding on to their devices, and there's also more devices in the house that they have to fix. And sometimes, like they're looking at a TV and they say, I just bought this TV for $1,500, but and something's happened to it, and I need to take it back. versus just having, and they have to make the decision, if I still have some warranty or I still have a replacement policy left on it, I'll just replace it out versus actually trying to get it fixed. But I've had it for a while and I paid $3,000 for it, or I paid $800 for it, whatever it is to you that really matters. I mean, I guess, how do you see that kind of the tension between like having the manufacturer deal with it or having the retailer deal with it versus having sort of dedicated kind of local repair facilities dealing with it? I mean, clearly your business is doing well, so there is a market for that, but thinking just sort of down the line, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really predict every OEM's kind of service strategy into the future. I can tell you what's worked for us, and I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but we have a really strong conviction about putting our customers first, and we just kept our heads down and worked. And one day Google called and said, hey, we're going to launch our first Google branded phones, and we're trying to figure out what a differentiated service experience looks like. Would you like to partner with us on that? Yes, we would love to, right? And then you do a good job for them, and you keep your head down and you keep working. And then Samsung calls and says, hey, we're toying with this idea of standing up an authorized service network here. Would you be interested? Like, yeah, let's talk about it. That sounds really great. And we're going to continue putting our best foot forward and trying to be the best stewards of this brand we can possibly be. And we hope that leads to a world where we can get alignment with kind of all the technology providers out there. But, ultimately we don't run their strategies, and we're going to keep our head down and keep working and see how the cards fall.
Well, Justin, it's been a pleasure. I really appreciate you taking the time and talking about the history of uBreakiFix and the new mobile solution. If folks want to if they've got a broken phone and they are interested in scheduling a mobile service to come out and fix it, or finding sort of their local location, I assume it's all the same website to go to, uBreakiFix.
Yeah, uBreakiFix.com, and like I said, there's a 4 or 5 step process just to walk through, and it should be super easy.
All right, thanks. I really appreciate it, Justin.
Thank you.
And thank you to all our listeners and viewers. You can catch more episodes of Dynamic Developer on your favorite podcast platform, or watch a video and read a transcript of each episode at Tech Republic.